We're ending this year on a really nice note with two of the young stars from English National Ballet, which has just premiered its new holiday ballet, Nutcracker. And I'm also delighted to welcome first soloist Katya Khaniukova and lead principal Aitor Arrieta. This very talented young couple has shown audiences just how versatile they are on stage. And tonight, we look forward to getting to know a little bit more about them off stage. And joining Katja and Aitor is Irmgard Berry, advisor to the Mary Skeaping Estate. ENB will be performing Mary Skeaping's lovely production of Giselle in London in January, and Irmgard has chosen Katja and Aitor to be the opening night Giselle and Albrecht. And finally, Deborah Weiss is here to lead the conversation. Many of you know that Deborah, besides being incredibly knowledgeable about dance, is a respected writer and critic, and she also danced Mary Skeaping's Giselle. So I think we're in for an extremely interesting conversation. Please put your questions for our guests in the chat box at the bottom of your screen. And if you'd give your first name too, that would be great. So now please welcome Katja, Aitor, Irmgard, and Deborah.
Good evening, everyone. I am going to start. I'm just going to launch straight in there with Katya, actually, because I would like to ask you a little bit about all the fundraising that you do for Ukraine and the enormous things that you've done in order to help them. And you've been back there, you've performed there, you've taken some English dancers there. Yeah, and so, yes, tell us a little bit about that. And it's obviously very, very dear to your heart and extremely important. So tell us a bit about how you go about it, because you seem to have done an awful lot.
It doesn't feel enough. I don't think it will ever feel enough. I'm doing what I can, so then I don't feel useless here, because I think that the moment the full-scale invasion starts, it kind of clarify everything and it sets the priorities. It changed your life, and I don't think we started really with the straight to the question, but I just came back from Kiev again. I was there for 4 days, so I'm going back and forth all the time. I'm trying to do what I can, and I'm fundraising whenever I'm being asked to, because I'm aware of that the needs on the front line. It's not something that is set, is the constant all the time, like the repairs of the cars, the drones, like all of that I probably didn't expect to have that much knowledge, but because of war, it had to happen. So yeah, like I went there twice to do a big fundraiser with 2 shows that was big fundraisers. But apart from that, I'm all the time doing, you probably, whoever is following me on Instagram, where I'm shadow banned for life, I'm pretty sure, because the Instagram algorithm is basically promoting you when you're posting like a selfie or a ballet video, or like something about you, but not something political or something that is the disturbing image. I mean, war is a disturbing image, but it's also a reality. So it's a choice that I made, and I understand the consequences of it, but I made the choice very clear from the beginning, and I'm sticking up to this. So a lot of the times I'm posting stories, and you can see the links, and usually those are the links directly from the units of the brigades, or so to speak. There could be a friend or an ex-classmate of mine that is messaging me and saying like, listen, Katya, I'm now here and here. I'm with this unit. We need this, and we need this for like yesterday, because all of the necessities it's always very urgent. So usually I'm posting these links that are directly going to the person who needs that, but I'm also checking before that. So if you're seeing a link like that, it's usually something that I checked and rechecked, and you can do it directly. And I'm very grateful for all the support that was coming from UK, not just on the government, and is coming, not just on the government level, but on the level of people. That was really, it really touched my heart big time, because in all this nearly 3 years, which is insane, I think, I never ever, like, all the people, different levels, different I don't know, different professions, different everything, backgrounds, but all of them seem to be very much on the same page in what is wrong and what is right, which I think, in my opinion, is very clear here. But also, again, I'm Ukrainian. I have my entire family there. All of my entire family, everybody I have, all there. So it's only seem logical that I would do everything I can, since I am still here. So then I don't feel like, completely useless in a way. Yeah.
It's absolutely incredible. I have such a deep admiration for what you're doing. I wanted to know, for example, you've just said that you've been there for 4 days. What is your feeling when you're arriving there? It must be very mixed, because there must be a certain amount of fear, and yet you want to see your family, you want to know that they're all right. So how do you feel, if you can put it into words? I don't know.
I feel, you'll be surprised, because I went there because when we were in Southampton, we were like in the middle of doing the shows, and here comes the alerts about Oreshnik, the potential nuclear missile that was struck, the intercontinental ballistic missile. And so it feels very different. Like, it actually, psychologically, it is easier for me when I'm there, because I know that I'm right there, things happening. It can, like, be a complete hell. But I know that I'm close to my people. I know that so it does help a lot psychologically when I'm here. It's, for me, it's been a permanent cognitive dissonance, honestly, for the past 3 years, because it's such a massive change of scenery. And I'm trying my best to be present at both times, but I'm struggling, honestly. They're like, so emotionally and like mentally, psychologically, it's easier for me there. When I'm arriving there, I feel it's a mix of feelings at the moment, because it's been a long time. It's been happening for a long time. And the last time, I, like, right now, when I arrived there, you can feel the tension in the air, because people are tired. You have to understand, we have blackouts all the time during the winter, and most of the air alerts that happening, they're during the night as well, which means people are sleep deprived for years already. The entire country, everybody still keep working, like my mom, for instance, who's a doctor. But for example, if there's an air alert like at 2 a.m. until 5 a.m., you barely sleep 3 hours a night. Next day you're working, but next night you're not going to catch up, because it might happen the same. Now the blackouts, it's all scheduled. So when I arrive, now I know the system. You're checking where you live. And it's like, it's supposed to be scheduled. Sometimes they're canceling blackouts for the day, and you're like, okay, that's great. Feels like, New Year. It feels amazing. But usually it's like 4-6 hours, because of the shortage that is caused by Russians attacking the energetic system. I don't know, energetic system, like the electricity. Yeah. So yeah, it feels, it's a mix of feelings, but it's my home, and it's always been my home. And this is my second home because I feel it that way because of people, honestly, and because of most of you guys, because I never expected that I would have people who would actually be so supportive and like not even support, just like interested in my career and like what I'm doing, and I found them here. And that's something that I would be forever grateful. So I consider this my second home, but my first home is there. So yeah, it's a mixed feeling, especially now, as I'm sure you've probably seen the headlines and everything, because it's such chaotic times at the moment around the world, everywhere, that even if you would want to avoid the news or politics, which is it's up to people, like it's their choices, you really can't. At this point, you can't. Yeah.
And it's such a huge part of your life. It must be very difficult to walk back in the studio to be Clara or whatever, and having to cut yourself off from it and really focus, unless perhaps it feels a little bit like an escape from the realities and the horrors.
It does feel, I have to say, it feels nice. I found my way in it. Like when I'm on stage, specifically in the show, sometimes in rehearsals as well, I'm trying. But when I'm on stage in a performance, it's like for 2-3 hours, I am in this environment and this is all that happening and this is all that matters. So in a way, this is my savior as well, mentally. It's been like my therapy in a way. But also, yeah, it hasn't been, it became a huge part of my life, and I made a decision to be that way. Like I am committed to not turning my head away from what's happening. And also because my family is also in the military, so I like, that's my choice, that's my family. But did it had impact on my dancing? For sure. A lot of the times there's some moments when I feel like a white, how do you say, like a white jealousy, like sometimes when I feel really low, really down, I would stay in the studio and like I would feel almost jealous of how things were before. Like I would love to bring them before, when I was able to like concentrate fully for like, let's say like 3-hour rehearsal, like some small part or something, and I would be able to fully be present. For me, I think the biggest struggle, especially when something big happening there, like some other attack on civilians or something, is to stay present here. Like that's something that I find really hard. Yeah.
But I also think that there is a possibility that this horrific experience that all Ukrainians have been through, but for you in particular, that you may be able to bring something else to your performing life because of the extraneous things that have been going on.
Yes, but I like, first of all, I think because of traveling back and forth and all of that, like I am quite self-critical as well. I think I don't dance to my abilities, and the first one to probably say it, because I do like to eat myself a lot. But yeah, with all the traveling and everything, I almost, like, when I'm looking back, I am missing that life and that moment in my life when the most important thing was ballet. And that was all that mattered. And like, how do you say, like, that was everything for me. And at the moment, I wish it could be everything, but I also need to take care of other situation. So yeah, at least for now. I don't know. I am curious. Maybe this Christmas Putin's suddenly gonna die. Who knows? I wish it.
Yes. You're not alone, I think. I'm going to move on a little bit, and I want to talk to Aitor as well about Nutcracker, first of all. So, Aitor, if I can ask you, because you have danced Wayne Eagling's version,
Yes.
you've now already danced this new version.
Mhm.
Can you tell me how different it feels? And yes, just generally what your preparation is like before you go on stage to do the prince. Because I gather in this version, it's more or less the grand pas de deux is the focus for the prince. Is that right?
Yes. Yes. Well, also in the first act, we are I am and the short Panferis, we are the parents of Clara in the party scene. So yeah, in the first act we need to act like we are parents, and then in the second act we are the sugar plum fairy and the cavalier. So yeah, that's the different thing with Wayne's Nutcracker, because in Wayne's Nutcracker in the first act the prince was already in the party scene as a prince, not as a parent, and he was dancing with the little Clara, and then that Clara was becoming the sugar plum fairy. So yeah, I think that's the main difference in the history, we will say, in the story of the ballet, that in this version Clara is not becoming the sugar plum fairy. Clara is completely another person, and then the sugar plum fairy is the queen of the sweets land, we will say, something like that. I think that will be the difference, the main difference.
And so how do you feel about the challenges of doing that role? Because it's actually, I think it's quite a difficult pas de deux and solos, but maybe you're used to doing all the big roles now, and it doesn't seem so daunting. I don't know. To me, it looks daunting, but
Well, I think what it feels with Nutcracker, I think in the both versions that we did, is that it feels a little bit, even that you are involved in the story, it feels, when you dance the main pas de deux, it feels more like a gala, because you arrive there and you do the grand pas de deux. It's not like Giselle, for example, that you're in the story, you are there, you are doing everything. Or I don't know, Donkey or Corsair, that you have like a really emotional journey. Or in this version and in the other version that we were doing, yes, you are in the story, you are involved, but dancing wise, like technique wise, you don't properly perform until the main pas de deux.
so does that make you feel really nervous before you go on? Because you haven't been doing a lot of dancing before, and then suddenly you're up there doing this incredibly challenging pas de deux, and you've got to do a solo, and you've waited all evening really for it.
Yes, but the good thing is that we have a lot of time to warm up again. so then we can be in the wings watching the show and warming up. So yes, you are not involved, but because you are in the wings watching your college, at the end you feel that you are in the ballet.
Right. Okay. Fair enough. So you're in the zone when you get to do it.
Yes. Yeah.
So just to go back to Katya again, because you're doing Clara and Sugar Plum, not in the same performance, obviously.
Yes, no,
So what's that like? Because they're at opposite ends, really. You know, Clara's the young girl, and then you've got to be some extraordinary queen.
I do like Clara because it's have you seen this movie, Never Ending Story? Yeah, that's how I feel exactly. Like, that's my moment on like riding that seahorse. I love all of the props and everything. It's like for a second, I'm a kid again. I'm a child, and I think this is like that's priceless. The sensation of being able to get back to your childhood for like even for 10 minutes is insane. And I think Yeah, I think I like Clara a lot. Sugar Plum is very sophisticated, very much all the time. I'm probably gonna be thinking about how my legs looking like is the emptiness correct? But in Clara, the story is more interesting from the Clara's point of view because everything is happening. It's all new for her, so it's the most exciting person. The most excited person in this ballet is Clara because it's all happening for her, everything. So yeah, I think this is why I like Clara a lot. But Sugar Plum is a nice too. It feels like, you know, an achievement. So yeah, obviously I'm looking forward for the Sugar Plum as well. But I hope that you guys would like this new production because I don't know, I like it. It's Christmas time and it's just, and also we have kids. They're so cute. They just
Yeah.
honestly they the best. That's to be able to rehearse with them. It's an absolute honor and a pleasure. First of all, how professional they are. Like there was one rehearsal when I was like, I'm sorry guys, and there's like two casts, and she's like, I'm sorry guys, you're gonna have to, you know, you're gonna have to repeat this 3 times. And one of the girls goes like, yes. Like they just love it, and they there. It's so, I don't know. I find that it's been my biggest pleasure and my biggest joy to have them around in the studio in like past month or so. Yeah, I think you're gonna like it as well. They very good as well. Like they were very, very cute, and they're looking forward. Like we finished the first show, and I'm coming, and I'm like, "How you guys feeling? Like, did you sleep well? Like, how you doing?" And they're like, "Yeah, we have like 22 left," and they were looking forward. So us grown-ups, we were like, "Oh my God, we have 22 left!" Like, there's like an amount, but they're excited about it. Yeah.
That is so lovely. If you enjoy working with them, just imagine how they feel about working with you guys and seeing their idols up there and working next to them. You know, that must be just so wonderful. No wonder they behave themselves.
Yeah.
They saw such personalities as well. It just, I don't know. I like looking at them. And also I have to say, very professional. Knows the counts, know where to like sometimes they've been the biggest professionals in the room, honestly. So
Yeah, more than some dancers.
Oh, that's fantastic. So I think I'm actually going to move on a little bit to talk about Giselle. So I'm going to ask Irmgard now, first of all, how you started working with Mary and how you came to be the guardian of this production.
Okay. Well, I just finished my Benish movement notation course to be a professional notator. I was not cut out to be a company choreologist, but I was going to run the library at the Benish Institute when it was in Barons Court, and I had 3 months to kill. And somebody I was studying the history of dance with said, Mary Skeaping is looking for an assistant to help her with a project. Would you be interested? And I said, okay, fine. No Google in those days, so I had to hurriedly look up lots about Mary Skeaping that I could find. All I knew was she'd done Giselle for Festival Ballet, as it was at the time, and arranged to meet her. I went to her flat in Paddington, and she opened the door to me, this little lady, middle of the day, still in her night clothes, her deerskin slippers, 3 pairs of glasses, one patch on one eye because she just had a cataract operation. And I just said, oh, hello, I'm Irmgard. And she said, oh, hi, I'm Mary, come in. And that was it. And we were actually working on the translation and getting ready for printing of an 18th century treatise on the beginnings of ballet. Actually, it was 1779. So there's lots of amazing steps in it. Well, the 3 months that I thought it was going to take ended up being 5 years because she was off still at 76, 77. She was still going off staging ballets all over the world. So it had to be when she was free. And then I started working. So it was weekends, etc. And what I soon realized was when we had breaks, her two favorite topics of conversation were Anna Pavlova and Giselle. So I learned a huge amount about Giselle. I never actually worked in the studio with her on Giselle, but I was at stage calls with her, performances, and I would get this endless stream of what was wrong on stage, what she wanted, etc. And I just kept it all in my head, not thinking anything about it. And then when she was in the last few months of her life, she was in hospital, and she called me in and said, I want you to take over, because we hadn't actually finished the book, take over that, be responsible for everything else that I have. And it was in front of her nephew, who was the main executor of her estate, and Peter Brinson. So it was like a living will. I mean, I was flabbergasted, but at the time, I didn't think that Giselle would last without her. But of course it did. So my job then suddenly became looking after Giselle, and it's been the most incredible journey. And I just love doing it. And that's it, how I got to do it.
Yeah, I mean, that is incredible. And the fact that you can sort of remember the things that she said so clearly, and that you're able to pass them on, because actually, having worked with Mary myself on Queen of the Willies, Myrta, it was like listening to someone who was giving us pearls of wisdom. And even though she was very tiny, she was so dominant in the room, and you were sort of frightened to put a bouret out of place, you know. She really was a force. And I think it's fantastic that you've been able to retain all those things and pass them down to what is essentially lots of different generations. You know, I think that's really great. I'm going to come back to you and ask you a little bit about the differences in Mary's production, but I want to talk to Aitor first, actually, about doing Albrecht, because this is a different version. I think it's easier to warm to Albrecht. In some versions, he just tends to come across as being rather a cad. He's not totally out of the woods in this version, because he's not honest with Bathilde. But so tell me how you approach the role.
I mean, I think for me it's really easy to perform this role as I'm dancing with Katya. So it's really easy to develop the character. I think Albrecht, for me, is a young man that, you know, he's really impulsive, and you know, he needs to get married with Bathilde, but he loves Giselle. So yeah, I mean, I think it's a really, I mean, for me, it's always been a dream role to dance Albrecht. I danced it last year for the first time, so it was amazing to be able to perform, and also with this version that it has so much history, and it was amazing. For me, I think the most special thing is the journey that I have as a dancer and as a person in the performance. You know, I enter in as, you know, happy that I want to see Giselle, and I finish alone on stage, no? So I think, I mean, every performance is different, as I try to live the moment, I would say. Of course, doing the same steps, and but, you know, I try to, I don't know, I wouldn't say have different feelings, but have different experience with the same role, I would say.
Well, I think that's fabulous that you say that, because actually it means that you're living it in that moment, and you're not going to go through exactly the same. Otherwise, it's boring.
Yes.
You don't develop into the character that you're supposed to be. So I think that's a real positive, that you feel that it needs to change with every single time that you do it. And I have to say, having seen you do it, I feel a great deal of empathy for you and the way you sort of build the character, and you can see that this really is a broken man at the end, and you're remorseful. You know, I think it really, really comes across. So, Katya,
Yes.
Giselle, you have done 5 different productions of this, haven't you?
Yeah, I think so.
So tell me, what is special about Mary's production for you? I mean, again, you live and breathe Giselle when you're on there, but it is just different from other productions. So tell me how you feel about it.
I think it's probably, I mean, I only know Mary from the words of Irmgard and from the research that we were doing, but I think it's probably what you were saying, that it's very detailed and it's lots of knowledge and lots of wisdom that put in this production. Every single moment, there's not a moment when you're on stage without how do you say, like, without logical explanation what's happening and what you're doing. So the storyline, I think it's probably the most perfectly built in from the versions that I danced so far. In terms of difference in choreography, there is a small parade in the act 1, padandaj. I'm gonna learn how to pronounce it. Here we go. I never pronounced it correctly. but yeah, it's just again, it just seemed logical that they get together by the end of the act 1, that it's all developed into her feeling more comfortable with him around, because from the first meeting you can tell that she's excited to see him, but yet she still keeps her, like, she's quite shy. She doesn't want him to get too far too soon. I think like the padavandaj is the first moment when she's willingly, and he's willingly as well. It's in front of everyone in the village, so everybody's seeing their relationship and their love developing. And I think this is a beautiful moment to bring it all up, to then crush it, because then the difference between that is more heartbreaking. It's more obvious because what just happened in front of everyone. And I think that's also something for her, for me to go in the math scene as well, because all of this lie was in front of everyone she knows. Yeah. Yeah, I think this is I find it a very beautiful connection within that. And the act 2 is my absolute favorite. I don't know. I really, it's a very, I think probably like Aitor said, like every show is slightly different. And I found it really hard for myself as a dancer, as a personality. It's hard for me to repeat the show, like everything the same. Even if I try, it just does not go the same, because sometimes I tend to almost like melt in whatever happening on stage. And I like it. This is, for me, this is the most beautiful part of our job, because we get to live different lives in one life. So, but also that means that the decisions that I'm making sometimes are slightly different, and they're at the moment, in the moment. But yeah, act 2, like sometimes there's periods of my life, there's some days when I feel myself more like act 1 Giselle, and then there's periods when I'm like, no, I'm more act 2. But it's an honor, it's been a dream role of mine, and yeah, it's an absolute honor to be able to dance it, and to dance it here in London. It's I think a kid Katya, like a 10-year-old Katya, wouldn't believe that we're doing this. Yeah.
Well, you deserve to do it here. You really do. So I'm going to go back to Irmgard now, just because I wanted to talk a little bit about the different things. So we've already talked about the pas de vendage in Act 1, which is it's just so Giselle, actually. When you put it all together, it's incredible that other people don't do it. But I wanted to talk about some of the pieces of music, such as the fugue in the second act, which I absolutely love listening to. Tell me why she was so keen to include this. And I mean, there aren't many other companies, like, if maybe Ratmansky's version, I don't know, you might have it in there, but nowhere else. So
yes, I'm not absolutely sure. I think maybe Scottish Ballet years ago, Peter Darrell's production, because that used a lot of the full score as well. I mean, it was put in originally, it's in the original score, and critics at the time mentioned it. They said, oh, wow, you know, after all the airy-fairy stuff, we get this very almost Baroque fugue, and it's brilliant, and it actually only takes 1 minute of music. 1 minute. It just seems longer, obviously, sometimes. But the whole point of it, when Mary was looking through, and actually I have to say that when Diaghilev did his production that he brought from Russia, he put that back in. It had been taken out maybe 1860s or something like that, but he wanted it back in, so Fokine choreographed it. And when Mary talked to Karsavina about it, who was in it, she couldn't really remember the steps, but she said, well, this was sort of the flavor of it. But with Mary, she felt that it had a logical place there, because that is the moment Giselle has led Albrecht to the cross, which is his protection, and she's there safeguarding him. Myrta wants to get him away from the cross, so she sends, and it's actually in the piano reduction from 1841, she sends wave after wave of Willy to the cross to try and pull him away. It doesn't work, and so finally she comes, as you remember, stomping on, almost absolute fury, and the fugue is so wonderful because it gives you that absolute fury that she's being thwarted, and then the only way she can get Albrecht away from the cross is to command Giselle away from the cross. But that's why Mary thought it was very important, because it marks a turning point. From then on, Myrta has to work hard to get Albrecht, and she's not used to that. Everything she does after that, she's thwarted. Every time she thinks she's got him, she hasn't got him. So that's why she felt it was important. And the other thing that conductors love is it actually, the last few da-da-da-dum, da-da-da-dum, is actually where she pulls Giselle away from the grave, or commands her away from the grave. Now, if you don't have the fugue in there, there's this silence. So the conductor either has to fill it with a few bars of handwritten music, or there's silence while she pulls her away. But when it is in, it just runs through, which is, you know, Mary being a trained musician is what she wanted.
That's very interesting, actually. I'm not sure that I realized that transition. I'm sorry to admit it, after 45 years.
It was that Mary never had time to explain things like this to people in rehearsals. That was why I got the benefit of it all, because, you know, it was in our spare time that she told me all these things, and I now, you know, like to hand it on, obviously.
Absolutely. No, it's fascinating. I love the drama of that moment where the branch breaks and the queen is kind of, she's almost crumpling. Yes. and crumbling under the sort of magical setting of everything. But so the other thing I wanted to talk about was the famous entrechatsis for Albrecht. Which I don't know. Aitor might have something to say about this.
She really wanted.
I know a lot in a lot of productions. I know it was brought in by Rudy
Yes.
as a sort of virtuoso trick, really, and that it used to get lots of applause and all the rest of it. But so I'm going to ask Aitor first. Did you kind of think, what, we're not doing the entrechatsis?
I mean, I think that was the first reaction of everyone, that we were doing Albrecht in the beginning. But I mean, it has. I mean, when you are in the show, it makes sense, no? Because I mean, I'm doing the version of Sodevask towards Mirta, and it makes sense that I'm going to her, asking her, you know, please forgive me, like, you know, I've done so many bad things, don't kill me, or whatever it is. So it makes sense. No, if you are doing the 32 entrechatsis, that yes, it's iconic, but you are there just looking at the audience, and there is no meaning, no, I would say, in the story. Sorry?
Absolutely. Sorry, absolutely. Irmgard, you can say what Mary used to say about this. Because I think it's spot on. It really is spot on.
Yes, I mean, she obviously, as I say, Rudy brought them in the when he defected, and so then everybody thought they had to do them. It was like a challenge. But of course, Mary's production was first done in 1953, and she had a look at them and she said, okay, well, if Albrecht does 32 entrechatsis, well, we'll get Giselle to do 32 fouettes. It's a party trick. It doesn't.
Maybe we're not doing it. I love princess.
So she
bring
just,
it back.
she said, you know, that's it, you know.
It will be like a trick.
Yes, exactly. It has
competition.
a dramatic purpose, and of course, you know, Giselle doing 32 fouettes doesn't. But you know, entrechatsis existed in 1841. They just didn't do 32 of them. They didn't do party tricks. It was more about telling the story through the dance than suddenly doing. Which is why there aren't really pas de deux as such in Giselle in the classical sense, because it's a romantic ballet.
Yeah.
Right. So just talking about telling the story, I know that Mary and you have passed this on. The mime was very, very important. That you're not just doing those sort of typical ballet gestures, but you're telling the story clearly. I mean, when you think of Bertha, the mother, and that incredible mime sequence that she does in the first act, that almost sends shivers down your spine. Tell me a little bit about Mary's attitude towards the mime.
Well, of course, I say when she did it in 1953, there was mime because these ballets were brought out of Russia by Nikolai Sergeyev, who staged it in Paris for Spesivtseva, in London in 1932 for Spesivtseva with the Camargo Society, and of course Mary was in the Corps de Ballet, and mime was a part of it then. It sort of got sidetracked or sidelined along the way, but she felt it was very important. It's in the music, in the piano reduction, there are pointers to it as well. And it actually fits the musical phrasing, especially the way she's done it, because she, again, she went to Karsavina. Karsavina used to teach mime at the same school that Mary taught at in the 1930s. And so they knew each other quite well. And so when she was going to do Giselle, she said to her, okay, teach me all the mime scenes. And they made sense to her. And as you say, it's a conversation, because certainly Act 1, in the Romantic period, it was more about the drama. It was like a drama with some dancing in it. And then you get to Act 2 and it's mainly dancing. So the mime had to be very clear and it had to move the story along. And what I always say with mime is when you do the mime gestures, it has to have the same dynamic as if you're speaking. So when we have the confrontation between Hilarion and Albrecht, Hilarion and Giselle, where he's trying to say he's not who you think he is, it has to be with that urgency rather than just pretty gestures. So that's usually how I look at it. I think that's about it.
Yeah, so yeah, I'm thinking about some of the other bits as well. Well, let's talk about Giselle's mother when she is doing this fantastic thing. Somehow, even if you don't understand ballet mime, you sort of know what she's saying. It's just an extraordinary thing. And I think that was part of Mary's gift, that she knew how to put that into the dancers, you know, into their minds, and you know, they have to tell the story accurately, otherwise the audience won't know what the hell's going on. Yeah, I think that's an important side of it. So is there anything else that I have to go back to Myrta, actually, because there is that extra solo in at the beginning, so which for people dancing it it's a kind of very exhausting, but very challenging, and that piece of music is often not in other productions as well. So do you know why she wanted to keep that in, and except that she wanted to kill off her Murphy?
Well, no offense to my beautiful Albrecht and Giselle here, but in Act 2, she thought Myrta was the most important character.
Mhm.
I
And
think so too.
and therefore you have to build up, and the music is in the score. It's all there for Myrta. It was what she did originally, although I have to say she never originally they didn't do the long bourrée across the stage on the diagonal. They popped up from behind the reeds, etc. It was on a, you know, a platform, so they moved up, so they just appeared. But obviously when you're doing a touring production, she actually did that in Sweden, but when you're doing a touring production, you have no idea where trapdoors are going to be, etc. So it was just back to, well, we'll do the bourrées, etc. But yes, the thing with Myrta is she has to show the audience not just that she's this queen and out for revenge on men, her love of dancing. And so, especially with Mary's choreography, it builds up to almost a state of ecstasy. Even if you're feeling dead by the time you finish it, it has to look like you just can't help yourself. I mean, she's a spirit now. She's not a real person anymore. She's got boundless energy. And that's what you have to show when you're dancing it. But also to keep showing that you're going to be in charge. But there are moments when she can relax and just enjoy herself and actually smile. And you don't get that in many productions because it's just, come on, I'm the queen, there we are. So with Mary's build-up, you actually get to see that this is a real character who was a living person at one time. So that's why it's so very long.
Right, and I also remember, and I think it was possibly you that told me that Katie Wade, who was the original Myrta, was such a strong dancer, and everything she was given to do, Mary would think, well, I can give her a bit more to do because she can do that, until she was just, you know, almost impossible to meet those standards, really. But I think that's a true story, isn't it? That she was very strong.
Oh, yes, yes, she was. She wasn't the first. The first was actually a Swedish dancer who was 19 years old when she danced it, Mariana Orlando in Stockholm. That's who Mary created it on. And she had the strongest technique in the company, which is why she gets the lot. But yes, Katie was the first one with London Festival Ballet. And she did say to me that, yes, I mean, Mary said to her, well, you know, if I didn't think you could do it, I would have taken half of it out. But of course, Katie could do it. And then, of course, when she went and danced it for the Royal Ballet, she said, oh, God, this is a cinch. It's so easy compared to Mary's version.
I can second that. Having done Peter Wright's version afterwards, I thought, ooh, I'm going to enjoy myself now. But anyway, so I wanted to go back to Katya and Aitor again, just to ask you both, let's start with Katya, what you have found the most challenging aspect of the role of Giselle.
I think to create a character without judging her choices, specifically in Act 1. Like, I think women here would understand me, because like at some point, you know, when you're rehearsing, you're like, she gotta be stupid. Like, he's been such a red flag from the beginning. What were you thinking about? But yeah, no, but yeah, it's for me, it's mostly to stay present at all time. The change between the Act 1 and Act 2, which has to be shown not just within acting, but mostly the quality of the arms and the quality of the steps, the dancing, because Act 2, you're not a human being, you're a spirit. And yeah, I mean, Giselle is a challenge always, but it's a beautiful challenge. It's something to live up to, and like in every show, as I said, is different. So it's for me, my emotional how to say, however I feel emotional on the day of the show is also very important, to be able to either tune it down or to bring it up. So I think recently for me that was the biggest challenge in general, not just for Giselle, but like in general for work, for the shows, because I feel whenever I'm on stage, I feel a massive exchange of like energy wise with the audience. So it is important for me to have something to give. When I have to say, like when we were doing last season, and it was like 3 Giselles in a row, and I found it very hard to be able to do it 3 times in a row, because like even on the second, because we usually do like a dress rehearsal, right, and then the opening night is the same cast. And so for the opening night, I found it hard because I felt like I've given everything I had. So, and I didn't have enough time to like recharge. Like I felt empty. So that's also something. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but that's something that I'm noticing about myself. Yeah.
That's interesting. I mean, it is a journey of sorts. No matter what, you know, you are. It's just different every time. I think this is, it's really positive in a sense.
Yeah.
But yeah, sorry,
But
go.
no, but also, yeah, as I said, like the quality of the movement, the difference between the Act 1 and Act 2, that's something that I've been very lucky to have, you know, Alessandra Ferri in the studio, Cynthia Harry. Like, again, as I said, a 10-year-old me probably would be like, no way, you're kidding. Like, I've been watching them on VHS. I've been so starstruck. It's such a privilege, and I just keep reminding this to myself whenever I feel like completely down. Like this is honestly an extreme privilege to be in the same studio with them. So, and Alessandra been probably the most incredible Giselle that I ever seen, and to have her and for her to be able to navigate me through the choices and how to create this, how to make this. She's just, and also I have to say, she's a wonderful human being, just a beautiful, beautiful woman, somebody I really look up to. Yeah. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think that's part of her gift as a coach as well, that she's not trying to impose how she did it on you. She is looking at you and pushing you to find the best that you can find.
Yeah, and she's so supportive and also very extremely emotionally intelligent, which is obvious because she created such beautiful roles. But the moment it really touched me is because I tend to overthink a lot. So like I would get hooked on like one step and be like, oh my God, it's not working. And she she knew like straight after like few rehearsals, she would be like, no, get it out of your head. Like she knew exactly what to tell me and how to, she would be like, no, stop being like, no, I would be like, no, again, we repeat. And she's like, no, we do this. We don't, we don't repeat that because you're overthinking. Stop doing this. And I think it's priceless to have somebody in the room, the coach who like, she just gets you. She understands what the process that's happening in your head. She sees it.
Yeah, she is really a remarkable human being. So, Aitor, tell me your kind of take on things, the challenges, and did you work with Alessandra as well?
Yes, yeah.
Okay, yeah.
No, I think it's been amazing being working with her. I think she knows so much about everything, not just about dance, also about life. So I think to have her helping us in Giselle, it was amazing, I think. And for me, I think is for me the most hard thing or the most challenging thing is that when I finish the ballet, I'm exhausted.
Yes,
But I'm exhausted. What?
Honestly.
But I'm exhausted physically and mentally. No, I remember the first time we did our first full call. I was wearing my Apple Watch with and it was telling me my heartbeat, and it arrived to 190, 200, and the watch started like making sounds saying like you need to stop whatever what you are doing. You need to stop. You need to stop. So yeah, I mean after that it got easier, but yeah, I think the end of second act is really tiring for the men with all the jumps and also because sometimes I try to be tired because he is kind of not dying, but he's exhausted. But I am really exhausted as Aitor is exhausted, not just Albrecht. Aitor is exhausted. So yeah, I think that's the. But it's nice.
Well,
it's a nice feeling. It's a nice feeling.
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. And you wouldn't want it to be a walk in the park.
No.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So I wonder, and Susan can redirect me if I'm doing the wrong thing, but I have some questions here from the people who are watching. If I can go on to those, is that all right, Susan? If you're still there? Maybe she's not there.
Yes, that's absolutely fine.
Oh,
Please
brilliant. Okay. So the first question I have here is from Helen, and it says, I saw opening night at Liverpool Empire with Katya and Aitor, and it was a beautiful show. Thank you. I just wondered how different it is for you to dance on different stages. Very good point, actually. I think Liverpool has quite a big stage. So is it easier for you and the Corps de Ballet when you have a big stage to dance on? From Helen.
Yeah, I would say we used to like our home stage, if we can say so, like called Coliseum. So yeah, obviously it's easier, not just because of the set and like you don't have to kind of squeeze the steps and to think rather not about the quality of the steps, but about not to hit anyone or the set or destroy the set. But it's also the backspace, which is important as well for us to be able to warm up and because that's also an important part of the performance and everything. So yeah, it's easier to Liverpool theater is great. It's one of our favorites, I would say, on national tour. Thank you so much.
I mean, I think in Giselle, the most important thing about the space is the act one, no? Because act two there is no almost set. So I think the one that can make difference if we go to different places is Act 1, because we have 2 houses on the stage. So, but yeah, I mean, Liverpool was great. Liverpool is a big stage, similar to Coli, maybe a little smaller, but quite similar to Coliseum. So it was great.
Isn't Liverpool a raked stage? Oh,
No.
I do no.
fair enough. My memory is not serving me very well. I think the Grand Theatre Leeds is a raked
Leeds,
stage.
yes, Leeds it is. Yes.
Yeah. Hideously raked. Anyway, so okay, I've got another question here from Fiona. Having dissed entrechat and fouettes as party tricks, one could apply the same criticism to Giselle's pirouettes and hops on point in Act 1 and the dreaded penché in Act 2, or the beautiful bourrées of Myrta and countless other technically challenging elements. How does a choreographer decide what is a trick and what is not? Now, I'm not sure. Perhaps I could direct that at you, Irmgard.
Well, talking about that solo with the hops on point, etc., that is an interpolation from about 1880 or something like that. It was never in the original. The music is not by Adam, and Mary actually didn't want it in her Giselle because it's totally out of character with the rest of the ballet and the rest of the choreography. She had it in for a while in Sweden because she had guest stars coming like Violetta Elvin and Raisa Struchkova from Russia. So she put it in so they'd have a solo that they knew rather than the flute solo, which is very tricky. And she didn't want to put it in 1971, but Galina Samsova, her first cast Giselle, pleaded with her and said, could we please do it? I love it. I'd love to do it. So Mary said, okay, well, I'll think about if I can put it in, where I can put it, because it can be moved anywhere in the ballet. And so she came up with a solution that it is Giselle's way of thanking Bathilde for the necklace. But yes, it does contain tricks. And I don't insist that everybody does the hops because, again, that's a trick. I said Mary didn't want it, but she lived with it. But she just said it has to be danced within the style of the ballet, in the romantic style. So, I mean, yes, we just, I like entrechassis, I just don't want to see them in Giselle. Same with fouettes. I mean, you've got the entrechassis king and the fouette queen here, but it doesn't work in Giselle. So you have to think of what is right for the style. And if you're trying, as Mary did, she went right back to Gautier's synopsis and everything, which is why the characters are so detailed and different from other productions. So if you're trying to do a romantic style, then no, you don't suddenly put something that is so classical in there. I hope that answers the question.
I think actually it's a great question because I think the challenge, we're coming back to the challenges, like the challenge as well is to don't make it look like a trick, like the attitude periods and everything, to make it look so smooth that it's within the storyline, that it's not periods for the sake of periods. Yeah, but obviously I would love to diss the horse, but we have to give them, so yeah. But the question is great, it's really nice. Yeah, I think it's that thing about Giselle that, like, that's the most challenging, to not make it look that sometimes, you go for preparation and you're like, okay, now she's gonna turn, and we see that happening. So that's what you need, like, that's the quality.
Absolutely. And I think what you've just said about preparations is really important. You shouldn't know from an audience perspective what is coming next. Oh my God, she's doing the double act.
Now it's happening.
And that's why I always say to the Albrechts not to do preparations in Act 2 before they do their pirouettes, because they like to just do a preparation foot to second behind. And I said, no, you have to make it look like it's part of the action.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah, like even all the in between interactions and the end of the act one solo, it's all within the spacing and the people who are on stage. So I think this is, yeah, I think the, how do you say, like the addressing, like what Aitor said as well, because it does make sense that the interstices is happening towards the audience. So usually the tricks are for like, it's for you when here in Giselle, the audience is rather an observant, you guys watching what's happening on stage, but it's not like it's a circus, like you, yeah. Yeah, I think that's the difference for me.
So that's exactly what Mary wanted, was to draw the audience in, not
Yeah,
to have
and-
everything
yeah.
out. You'll notice that nobody ever bows to the audience in Mary Giselle until the curtain falls at the end. It all has to be part of the drama, and that's because she worked on films as well as being an amazing ballet person. She had that filmic quality that she wanted to Giselle, that you're just drawn into this story that's happening
Mhm.
rather than watching. You have to be drawn in, and if everything's to your face, it doesn't work.
It does, it's just for the different,
Mm.
like you, that's why you have like a range, a choice.
Oh, sure.
on it.
Sorry, it doesn't work in this one.
I don't know if you want to add anything to that, Aitor.
I don't think I can add anything to that. I think it was perfect.
Bless you.
Okay, I'm going to move on to the next question from Susan. I'm curious to know how long it takes Katya and Aitor to come down following a ballet like Giselle, which demands so much emotion from a dancer. Do they have a post-performance routine to recover, not only physically, but emotionally? So, Aitor, do you want to give that a whirl?
Yeah. I mean, with Giselle, for me, when I finish the ballet, I sometimes when I dance other ballets, when I finish the ballet, I get changed, I have a shower, and I go home. But with ballets that are so demanding emotionally, especially, sometimes I spend like 20 minutes in the dressing room, like resting, thinking about the show, about trying to become again Aitor. And yeah, I mean, I think it depends what I said. I think it depends of the ballet, but yeah, the ones that are emotionally demanding, I normally stay more time in the dressing room after the show, trying to recover.
Fair enough. And what about you, Katya?
For me, I think it's the same as what I said, like the feeling of emptiness. And I think when it's required such a depth of emotions, I tend to get like during the Giselle run, I am like emotionally all over the places. I cry all the time. I after the act two, it takes me like I would just come in the dress room and sit down and stare in one point literally until the ladies would come and be like, Katya, we need your costume. Like, can you just
Yes, yeah.
but to honestly, I'm not kidding. I'm that type of dancer, actually. And and yeah, and then physically also like it's demanding. So I'm trying to make sure that I eat properly, which usually I'm also because of all the traveling to be between two countries. It's not easy. So yeah, so also physically I need to make sure that I am properly taking care of myself and not just like, okay, whatever. But yeah, it's more the emotional journey of the ballet that is hard to recover from. And I'm the person who didn't figure out yet how to let go of the character easily. So if I'm preparing something like that, and if there's a week of run, for a week, you're probably gonna see me in the zone completely. So yeah. which is I remember doing Broken Wings. Annabelle once gave me like she said, you know, sometimes when you're doing something very emotionally, dramatically charged on stage, like you need to be able to come back home and like to release from the character, to like to recover. And she would be like, put the candle on and sit, and I swear to God, I would come back home and I would put like 10 candles around me, and I would be like, it's not working. But I would try to be as spiritual as I can. Yeah. I'm still discovering.
Yeah, I can really understand that actually, because you are investing so much of yourself in whatever part that you do, and it is quite hard to come down, I think. But yeah, that's really interesting. So I've got another question for Aitor here, from Rosie. How does the character of Mary Skeaping's Albrecht compare with Akram Khan's Albrecht?
Really good question. When I performed for the first time, Akram's Giselle was 8 years ago, I think, when it was premiere. So it was my first year in the company. It was my first month in the company. I remember when we went to Manchester and I had the opportunity to dance it. And we danced it a lot for 8 years. But I think it helped me a lot to perform the classical version. And with this, I want to say that I don't know why I feel that at the end of the ballet in both versions, I feel the same, kind of emotionally. I'm alone on the stage, you know, and but of course it's completely different styles. One is classical, the other one is more contemporary. I don't know which one will be more physically demanding. I will say the classical one, the Mary Skeaping one. But yeah, I think when I started learning the classical version, I think I was using a lot the emotions that I was having in the Akram's version, kind of. So I was using the other version to help me and to have my own choices to the classical version. So yeah, I mean, and I think it's nice to be able to dance two completely different versions, one classical and the other one contemporary, because of course it's the same story or similar story, not the same, similar story, but completely different styles. So it's really nice. And I remember that the first year that I did Akram, we did that year as well Mary Skeaping in London, and I did that time I was dancing Pesempa. So I wasn't thinking that I was gonna dance Albrecht, never, you know, that, but last year I had a chance to dance Albrecht, so I was really lucky.
Oh, I can't believe you did Akram Khan's Giselle just a month after you joined.
Yeah, I mean a month. Yeah, I mean it was crazy because I was in brackets for Albrecht, and and one day they told me tomorrow you need to do the run through.
Okay.
And I didn't know anything because I was, you know, the principals were rehearsing downstairs when we were in JMUs. They were rehearsing downstairs. They were changing the choreography every day because Akram likes to, you know, evolve and change the choreography every day. Even before the premiere, I remember that he changed things from the dress rehearsal into the premiere. So I was first cast of the core, and I was, you know, rehearsing the core, and suddenly they tell me, no, tomorrow you're gonna do the run through of Albrecht. And I was like, what? So I remember like arriving home, trying to see all the videos. I arrived to the building at 7:30, around 8 in the morning, trying to, you know, talk to my Giselle, that it was Madison at that time. So yeah, it was a little bit stressful because, you know, I didn't know almost anyone in the company, but yeah, I mean, I was really lucky to be able to do it.
That's fantastic. I have to say, English National Ballet has not changed since the 70s.
I mean, yeah, I think if anything we're good at, I think we can pull together like in the most extreme circumstances. It's almost
think
like
so,
we
yeah.
have the internal joke that it's a trauma bonding. Because we're like if like it's a last minute situation or sometimes lots of people sick or injured or something, I think because we're not that big of a company, we know how to stick together like in extreme circumstances. And yeah, and I remember that run that he did. I remember the ginger guy joining our company, which was Aitor. He did great.
Yeah, I mean, I'm dancing it still, so yeah, I guess I did it great. No, but it's nice because now I dance with, I don't know, 4 or 5 different Giselles, that version. So yeah, it's great. And it's great to do 2 different versions in the same year. So it's nice.
Fantastic. Well, I don't think I've got any other questions in the chat anyway, unless someone wants to add one really quickly. I think I'm going to hand back to Susan and just say, from my point of view, actually, I've really enjoyed this chat. It's been really fascinating. So, but anyway, I'm going to hand back to Susan. There we go.
Hello. Well, you may have enjoyed it, but I can tell you that we have absolutely loved every minute of tonight. Thank you so much to all 4 of you. Deborah, it's great that you have so much knowledge of the ballet itself and Mary and Mirt and so on. And so the questions were just wonderful. And Aitor and Katya, you guys are terrific, and we're so looking forward to seeing both Nutcracker and Giselle and everything else you do from here on in. Irmgard, thank you very much. It was fascinating to learn more about Mary and about the amazing amount of research and the how much it meant to her to be true to the original story, and that's great. So thank you all for taking the time out tonight for LBC. It's been what a great way to finish up 2024. And 2025 is going to start off on January 19th at the Royal Ballet School with Tea and Tutus. It was March 2020, just about 3 days before COVID lockdown hit us all, that we had our last chance to socialize as an organization. So we're long overdue. So please go to the website, www.tlbc.org.uk, and book your place for Tea and Tutus. And another in-person event, and Aitor and Katya, you gave us a great lead into this. February 11th, Alessandra Ferry will be our guest. And
Perfect.
that's going to be terrific, yes. March 10th is our AGM, and the 2024 Dame Nanette Award winners Rebecca Stewart and Emil Gooding will be our in conversation guests following the business part of the meeting. And also in March, I'm pleased to announce that on the 24th, American Ballet Theater's young and exciting principal, Chloe Misseldine, will be our guest. So mark your calendars for that. Once again, Katja, Aitor, Irmgard, and Deb, thank you. It has been such a pleasure getting to know you all. And it's just been a super evening. We packed so much into a short time. I wish we had more time, but we did our best. So it's the holiday season, the season of light, goodwill towards all. And no matter how you mark it, I wish you all the very, very best, both our guests and all of you watching on Zoom, the very best for the season and a happy new year. We look forward to seeing you all in January. And so from all of us at LBC, the trustees, happy holidays and good night. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.